Grandiloquent lord of heaven and earth, self-reliant father Enki, engendered by a bull, begotten by a wild bull, cherished by Enlil, the great mountain, beloved by holy An, king, mesh tree planted in the Abzu, rising over all lands, great dragon who stands in Eridug, whose shadow covers the heaven and earth. A grove of vines extending over the land, Enki, lord of plenty of the Inanna gods, Nudimude, mighty one of the Ekur, strong one of heaven and earth, your great house is founded in the Abzu, the great mooring post of heaven and earth, Enki from whom a single lance is enough to unsettle the heart of the mountain. Wherever bison are born, wherever stags are born, where ibex are born, where wild goats are born, in meadows, in the hollows in the heart of the hills, in green, unvisited by man, you have fixed your gaze on the heart of the land as on split reeds, counting the days and putting the months in their houses, so as to complete the years and to submit the completed years to the assembly for a decision, taking decisions to regularize the days. Father Enki, you are the king of the assembled people. You have only to open your mouth for everything to multiply, and for plenty to be established. Your branches, green with their fruit, do honor to the gods, and their forest is like a fleecy garment. Good sheep and good lambs do honor to, when that prepared fields will accumulate stockpiles and stacks. There is oil, there is milk, produced by the sheepfold and cowpen. The shepherd sweetly sings his rustic song, the cowherd spends the day rocking his churns. Their products will do an honor to the late lunches in the god's great dining hall. Your word fills the young man's heart with vigor, so that, like a thick-horned bull, he butts about in the courtyard. Your word bestows loveliness on young woman's head, so that the people in their settled city gaze at her in wonder. Enlil, the great mountain, has commissioned you to gladden the hearts of the lords and rulers and wish them well. Enki, lord of prosperity, lord of wisdom, lord of the beloved of An, the ornament of Eridug, who establish commands and decisions, who well understands the decreeing of fates. You close up the days, and make the months enter their houses. You bring down, you have reached their number, you make the people dwell in their dwelling places, you make them follow their herdsmen. You turn weapons away from their houses, you make the people safe in their dwellings. When Father Enki goes forth to the inseminated people, good seed will come forth. When Nudimude goes forth to the good pregnant ewes, good lambs will be born. When he goes forth to the fecund cows, good calves will be born. When he goes forth to the good pregnant goats, good kids will be born. If you go forth to the cultivated fields, to the good germinated fields, stockpiles and stacks can be accumulated in the high plain, if you go forth to the parched areas of the land. Enki, the king of the Abzu, rejoicing in great splendor, justly praises himself. My father, the king of heaven and earth, made me famous in heaven and earth. My elder brother, the king of all lands, gathered up all the divine powers and placed them in my hand. I brought the arts and crafts from Ekur, the house of Enlil, to my Abzu in Eridug. I am a good seaman, begotten by a wild bull. I am the firstborn of An. I am a great storm rising over the great earth. I am the great lord of the land. I am the principal among all rulers, the father of all the foreign lands. I am the big brother of the gods. I bring prosperity to perfection. I am the seal keeper of heaven and earth. I am wisdom to understanding of the foreign lands. With An the king, on An's dais, I oversee justice. With Enlil looking out over the land, I decree good destinies. He has placed in my hand the decreeing of fate. In the place where the sun rises, I am cherished by Nintur. I am named with a good name by Ninharashaga. I am the leader of the Inanna gods. I was born as the firstborn son of Holy An. After the Lord had proclaimed his greatness, after the great prince had eulogized himself, the Inanna gods stood there in prayer and supplication. Praise be to Enki, the much praised Lord who controls all the arts and crafts, who takes decisions. In a state of the high delight, Enki, the king of the Abzu, rejoiced in great splendor. Again, justly praises himself. I am the Lord. I am one whose word is reliable. I am one who excels in everything. At my command, sheepfolds have been built, cow pens have been fenced off, When I approach heaven, a rain of abundance rains from the heaven. When I approach the earth, there is a high carp flood. When I approach the green meadows, at my word stockpiles and stacks are accumulated. I have built my house, a shrine, in a pure place, and named it with a good name. I have built my Abzu, a shrine, and decreed a good fate for it. The shade of my house extends over the pool. By my house and Surher carp dart among the honey plants, and the east stub carp wave their tails among the small geezy reeds. The small bird chirps in their nests. Lords, pay heed to me. I am Enki. They stand before me, praising me. The Abgal priests and Abrig officials who stand before me, distant days. The Enkub and Ninkum officiants organize. They purify the river for me. The interior of my shrine for me. In my Abzu, sacred songs and incantations resound for me. My barge, crown, the stag of Abzu, transports me there most delightfully. It glides swiftly for me about the great marshes to wherever I have decided. It is obedient to me. The stroke collars make the oars pull in perfect unison. They sing for me pleasant songs, created a cheerful mood on the river. Sig, the captain of my barge, holds the golden scepter for me. I am Enki. He is in command of my boat. Stag of the Abzu, I am the Lord. I will travel. I am Enki. I will go forth into my land. I, the Lord who determines the fates. I will admire its green cedars. Let the lands of Meluha, Magan, and Dilman look upon me, upon Enki. Let the Dilman boats be loaded with timber. Let the Magan boats be loaded sky high. Let the Magalim boats of Mahala transport gold and silver and bring them to Nibiru for Enlil, king of all the lands. He presented animals to those who have no city, to those who have no houses, to the Martu nomads. The Anunid gods address affectionately the great prince who has traveled in his land. Lord who rides upon the great powers, the pure powers, who controls the great powers and numberless powers. Foremost it is all the breath of heaven and earth, who receive the supreme powers in Eridug, the holy place, the most esteemed place. Enki, Lord of heaven and earth, praise. All the lords and rulers, the incantation priests of Eridug, and the linen-clad priests of Sumer perform the purification rites of the Abzu. For the great prince who has traveled in this land, the father Enki, they stand guard in the holy place, the most esteemed place. They, the chambers, they, the emplacements. They purify the great shrine of the Abzu. They bring there the tall juniper, the pure plant. They organize the holy, in the great watercourse of Enki. Skillfully, they build the main stairway of Eridug on the good quay. They prepare the sacred Azagga shrine, where they utter endless prayers. For Enki, squabbling together, the Sahurmas carp dart among the honey plants, again fighting amongst themselves for the great prince. The Eastub carp wave their tails among the small geezy reeds. The Lord, the great ruler of the Abzu, issues instructions on board the stag of Abzu. The great emblem erected in the Abzu provided protection, its shade extending over the whole land and refreshing the people. The pillar and pole planted in the marsh, rising high over the foreign lands. The noble captain of the lands, the son of Enlil, holds his head and sacred punt pole, a mess tree ornamented in the Abzu, which received the supreme powers in Eridug. The holy place, the most esteemed place. The hero proudly lifts its head towards the Abzu. Sir, the boatman of the barge, the boat for the Lord. Sig, the captain of the barge, holds the holy scepter for the Lord. The 50 Lahama deities of the subterranean waters speak affectionately to them. The stroke colors like heavenly gagam birds. The intrepid king, Father Enki, in the land, prosperity was made to burgeon in heaven and on earth for the great prince who travels in the land. Enki decreed its fate. Sumer, great mountain, land of heaven and earth, tread on glory, bestowing powers on the people from sunrise to sunset. Your powers are superior powers, untouchable, and your heart is complex and inscrutable. Like heaven itself, your just matrix, in which gods too can be born, is beyond reach. giving birth to kings who put on the good diadem, giving birth to lords who wear the crown on their heads. Your Lord, your On the Lord, sits with On, the kings on On's dais. Your king, the great mountain, father Enlil, the father of all lands, has blocked you impenetrably, like a cedar tree. The Inanna, the great gods, have taken up dwellings in your midst, and consumed their food and your Gagana shrines. Among the unique and exceptional trees, household Sumer, may your sheepfolds be built and your cattle multiply. May your Gagana touch the skies. May your good temples reach up to heaven. May the Inanna determine the destinies in your midst. Then he proceeded to the sanctuary of Urim, city which possesses all that is fitting, bathed in water, sturdy bull altar of abundance that strides across the mountains, rising like hills, forest of Hasur cypresses, with broad shape, self-confident. May your perfect powers be well directed. The great mountain Enlil has pronounced your name, great in heaven and on earth. City whose fate Enki has decreed, sanctuary of Urim, you shall rise high to heaven. Then he proceeded to the land of Meluha. Enki, lord of the Abzu, decreed its fate. Black land, may your trees be great trees, may your forests be forests of highland mess trees. Chairs made from them will grace royal palaces. May your reeds be great reeds, may they, heroes show them, in their battlefield as weapons. May your bulls be great bulls, may they be bulls of the mountains. May their bellowing be the bellowing of wild bulls of the mountains. May the great powers of the god shall be made perfect for you. May the Francollians of the mountains wear cornelian beards. May the birds all be peacocks. May their cries grace royal palaces. May all of your silver be gold. May all of your copper be tin bronze. Land, may all you possess be plentiful. May your people, may your men go forth like bulls against their fellow man. He cleansed and purified the land of Dilmun. He placed Nansikala in charge of it. He gave for the fish spawn, ate its fish, bestowed palms in the cultivated land, ate its dates, Elam and Marhasi, to devour. The king, endowed with strength by Enlil, destroyed their houses, demolished their walls. He brought their silver and lapis lazuli, their treasure, to Enlil, king of all lands, in Nibiru. Enki presented animals to those who have no city, who have no houses, to the Martu nomads. After he had turned his gaze from there, after Father Enki had lifted his eye across the Euphrates, he stood up, full of lust, like a rampant bull, lifted his penis, ejaculated, and filled the Tigris with flowing water. He was like a wild cow, mooing for its young in the wild grass, its scorpion-infested cow pen. The Tigris, at his side like a rampant bull, by lifting his penis, he brought a bridal gift. The Tigris rejoiced in the heart like a great wild bull. When it was born, it brought water, flowing water indeed. Its wine will be sweet. It brought barley, molten barley indeed. The people will eat it. It filled the Eker, the house of Enlil, with all sorts of things. Enlil was delighted with Enki, and Nibiru was glad. The Lord put on the diadem with a sign of lordship. He put on the good crown as a sign of kingship. Touched the ground on his left side. Plenty came forth from the earth for him. Enki, the Lord of Destinies, Enki, the king of the Abzu, placed in charge of all this him who holds a scepter in his right hand, him who with glorious mouth submits to verification and devouring force of the Tigris and Euphrates, while prosperity pours forth from the palace like oil. Enbelulu, the inspector of waterways. He called the marshes and gave them the various species of carp. He spoke to the reed beds and bestowed them in old and new growths of reeds. He issued a challenge. Enki placed in charge of all this him from whose net no fish escapes, him from whose trap no living thing escapes, him from whose bird net no bird escapes, who loves fish. The Lord established a shrine, a holy shrine, whose interior is elaborately constructed. He established a shrine in the sea, a holy shrine, whose interior is elaborately constructed. The shrine whose interior is a tangled thread is beyond understanding. The shrine's emplacement is situated by the constellation, the field, The holy upper shrines and placement faces towards the chariot constellation. Its terrifying sea is a rising wave. Its splendor is fearsome. The Inanna gods dare not approach it, to refresh their hearts. The palace rejoices. The Inanna stare with the prayers and supplications. They set up the great altar for Enki in the Iangura, for the Lord, the great prince, the pelican of the sea. He filled the Eker, the house of Enlil, with goods of all sorts. Enlil was delighted with Enki, and Nibiru was glad. Enki placed in charge of all this, over the wide extent of the sea, her who sets sail, and the holy shrine who induces sexual intercourse, who, over the enormous high flood of the subterranean waters, the terrifying waves of inundation of the sea, who comes forth from the mistress of Sirana, Nancy. He called to the rain of the heavens, he, as floating clouds, he made, rising at the horizon, he turned the mountains into fields. Enki placed in charge of all this him who rides on the great storms, who attacks with lightning bolts, the holy bar which blocks the entrance to its interior of heaven, the son of An, the canal inspector of heaven and earth, Ixker, and bringer of plenty, the son of An. He organized plows, yokes, and teams. The great prince Enki bestowed the horned oxen that follow the tools. He opened up the holy furrows that made the barley grown in the cultivated fields. Enki placed in charge of them the lord who wears the diadem, the ornament of the high plain, him and the implements, the farmer of Enlil, Enki Madu, responsible for ditches and dikes. The Lord called and cultivated fields, and bestowed on them malted barley. Enki made chickpeas, lentils, and grow. He leaped up into piles, the early malted and inhala varieties of barley. Enki multiplied and the stockpiles and stacks, and with Enlil's help he enhanced the people's prosperity. Enki placed in charge of all this her whose head and body are dappled, whose face is covered in syrup, the mistress who caused sexual intercourse, the power of the land, the life of the black-headed, Izina, the good bread of the whole world. The great prince fixed a string on to the hoe, and organized brick molds. He penetrated like precious oil. Enki placed in charges of them, whom his sharp-bladed hoe is a corpse-devouring snake, that whose brick mold in place is tidy stack of whole grain for the use, Kula, whose bricks in the land. He tied down the strings and coordinated them with the foundations, and with the power of the assembly he planned a house and performed the purification rituals. The great prince put down the foundations and laid the bricks. Enki placed in charge of all of this him whose foundations once laid do not sag, whose good house once built do not collapse, whose vaults reach up into the heart of heavens like a rainbow, Mastama, Enlil's master builder. He raised a holy crown over the upland plain. He fastened a lapis lazuli beard to the high plain. He made it wear a lapis lazuli headdress, and made this good place perfect with greenery and abundance. He multiplied the animals of the high plain to the appropriate degree. He multiplied the ibex and wild goats of the pastures, and made them copulate. Enki placed in charge of them the hero who its crown of the high plain, who is the king of the countryside, the great lion of the high plain, the muscular, the hefty, the burly strength of Enlil, Sakan, the king of the hills. He built the sheepfolds, carried out their cleaning, made the cow pens bestowed on them best fat and cream, and brought luxury to the gods' dining places. He made the plain, created for greenery, achieved prosperity. Enki placed in charge of all this the king, the good provider of Inanna, friend of An, the beloved son-in-law of the youth Shon, the holy spouse of Inanna, mistress of the lady, of the great powers who allow sexual intercourse in the open squares of Kalaba, Damuzid Asamgal Anna, the friend of An. He filled the Eker, the house of Enlil, with possessions. Enlil was delighted with Enki, and Nibiru was glad. He demarcated borders and fixed boundaries. For the Inanna gods, Enki situated dwellings and cities and disposed agricultural land into fields. Enki placed in charge of the whole of heaven and earth the hero, the bull who comes out of the Hashir forest, bellowing trucidentally. The youth Utu, the bull, standing triumphantly, audacently, majestically, the father of the great city. The great Harald in the east of the holy An, the judge who searches out verdicts for the gods, as a lapis lazuli beard rising from the horizon into the holy heavens, Utu, the son born by Ningal. He picked out the tow from the fibers and set up the loom. Enki greatly perfected the task of women. For Enki, the people in garments. Enki placed in charge of them the honor of the palace, the dignity of the king, Utu, the conscientious woman, the silent one. Then alone, lacking any functions, the great woman of heaven, Inanna, lacking any functions, Inanna came in to see her father Enki in his house, weeping to him, and making her complaint to him. Enlil left it in your hands to confirm the functions of the Inanna, the great gods. Why did you treat me, the woman, in an exceptional manner? I am holy Inanna. Where are my functions? Aruru, Enlil's sister, Nintur, the lady of giving birth, is to get the holy birth bricks as her prerogative. She is to carry off the lancelot of umbilical cords, the special sand and leeks. She is to get the silagara bowl of translucent lapis lazuli. She is to carry the holy consecrated ala vessel. She is to be the midwife of the land, the birthing of kings, the lords to be in her hands. My illustrious sister, holy Ninasina, is to get the jewelry of Suba stones. She is to be the mistress of heaven. She is to stand behind An and speak to him whenever she desires. My illustrious sister, holy Ninmug, is to get the golden chisel and the silver burin. She is to carry off her big flint and a Sarah blade. She is to be the metal worker of the land, the fitting of the good diadem when the king is born, and the crowning of with the crown when a lord is born, are to be in her hands. My illustrious sister, holy Nasaba, is to get the measuring reed, the lapis lazuli measuring tape, and is to hang over her arm. She is to proclaim all the great powers. She is to demarcate boundaries and mark borders. She is to be the scribe of the land, the planning of the gods. Meals is to be in her hands. Nancy, the august lady, who rests her feet in the holy pelican, is to be the fisheries inspector of the sea. She is to be responsible for accepting delectable fish and delicious birds, from there to go to Nibiru to her father, Enlil. But why do you treat me, the woman, in an exceptional manner? I am holy Inanna. Where are my functions? Enki answered his daughter, Holy Inanna, how have I disparaged you? Goddess, how have I disparaged you? How can I enhance you? Maiden Inanna, how have I disparaged you? How can I enhance you? I make you speak as a woman with pleasant voice. I make you go forth. I covered you with a garment. I made you exchange its right side and its left side. I clothed you in garments of woman's power. I put woman's speech in your mouth. I placed in the hands of the spindle and the hairpin. To you, woman's adornment, I settled on you, the staff and the crook, with the shepherd's stick beside them. Maiden Inanna, how have I disparaged you? How can I enhance you? Among the ominous occurrings in the hurly-burly of battle, I shall make you speaking vivifying words, and in the midst, although you were not an Arabu bird, I shall make you speak ill-omened words also. I make you tangle straight threads. Maiden Inanna, I made you straighten out tangled threads. I made you put on garments. I made you dress in linen. I made you pick out the tow from the fibers. I made you spin with the spindle. I made you color tufted clothes with colored threads. Inanna, you heap up human heads like piles of dust. You sow heads like seed. Inanna, you destroy what should not be destroyed. You create what should not be created. You remove the color from the semdrum of lamentations. Maiden Inanna, while shutting up the tigi and adab instruments in their homes, you never grow weary what admires looking at you. Maiden Inanna, you know nothing of tying the ropes. on deep wells. But now the heart has overflowed, the land is restored, and Enlil's heart has overflowed, the land is restored, in his overflowing heart of mankind. Lapis lazuli headdress is your prerogative, is your prerogative, is your prerogative, is your prerogative. Praise be to Father Enki.